This is the 2013 Yamaha R1, and it's Yamaha's flagship race bike, or at least it was. I'll tell you about their new flagship bike in a moment, but in 2013 when this bike was made, this was the baddest, meanest, fastest thing Yamaha has ever made. And after watching this video, you will know everything you need to know about a Yamaha R1. And stay to the end after the 0 to 60, where I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this bike and who this bike was really intended for. Now, the R1 was first brought to market in 1998 and put down around 150 horsepower and did 0 to 60 in sub 3 seconds, which is incredibly fast. Now, the original R1 was a pretty impressive bike, but since then there's been a lot of generation changes, which brings us to this bike, which is the longest lasting generation of the Yamaha R1, which started in 2009 and ended in 2014. And what Yamaha did to this motorcycle was straight out of the MotoGP. And as far as I know, this is the first super sport motorcycle to have a cross-plane engine in it. And the main reason for the cross-plane engine was just better torque at high RPMs when you're really cruising out of those corners. And to be honest with you, it's got one of the coolest sounds ever. Now, this generation came in a lot of different colors, the black and gray being my second favorite. My first choice is obviously the red and white, the red and pearl white, which just looks beautiful. Now, when you compare this thing to its little brother, the R6, size-wise, it's not that different. And I know a lot of people think that, oh, the bigger one's gonna be a bigger size. It's really not that difference in size. Just because you're tall does not mean you need a 1000 or a 1400. The biggest difference is obviously just the power. Where this thing puts around, they claim around 120, 110, 115. This guy's almost double at 182 horsepower. So size-wise, very similar. I feel comfortable, I'm 6'2", I feel comfortable on both bikes. They're both incredibly fast. So size-wise, they're very similar. They're both incredibly fast. This thing is gonna keep up with that bike until maybe about 80, 90, or 100. It's anything past there, where this one's just gonna dominate and just start pulling away from its younger brother. So the R1 has a 7-level traction control system, so you can really dial it in on the track. And the goal was to make the computer intervention which you're driving so seamless that you didn't even know it was happening. You couldn't feel any difference. When you add that with the 3 different throttle response modes, there's a combination of 21 different options and settings that you can set the bike to really fit your riding needs. Now, this is a throttle by wire, and Yamaha calls it the YCC. That stands for Yamaha Chip Control. It also has a variable intake system to help keep the engine in the power band. Now, the Yamaha R1 is one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever made, but it's not just about looks. This thing weighs in at 450 pounds and puts down 183 horsepower to the wheels. It does that through a 6-speed gearbox, through a slipper clutch, through a chain, on the ground. And that power to weight ratio is just 30 pounds short for it hitting the 1-to-1 kilograms to horsepower ratio that the car gods dream about. And of course, it's got the 190 rear tire, being a Yamaha R1. It's got the dual cans coming underneath the seat, and these awesome looking headlights that are clearly eyes for a transformer. The ergonomics in the seating would be pretty much what you would expect from a super sport bike. Your knees are significantly farther out than your feet, and you're able to tuck pretty low. I find the R1 to not put too much pressure on my palms, and I can ride these bikes for a long time, but they're made for super high speeds, and during those speeds, it is incredibly comfortable. Now, I did not forget to tell you about Yamaha's newest flagship bike that came out in 2015, and that's the R1M. But to be honest with you, for an extra 10,000 bucks, I don't know if you get that much more. But go check them out. It is a pretty cool looking bike. Let's go do the test drive. All right, guys, before we do the test drive, let's do the words of wisdom. John 15:5. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. And those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you could do nothing. Amen. Guys, let's put on these awesome, the rare, the only 100 of them ever made. We sold out of these things actually, I ended up buying a pair back from someone. We sold out of these things in 6 minutes. the 508s. Now, if you guys are looking at some other 508s, we've got the black ones. We have tons of them. Check them out at bikesandbeardsgear.com. One of the only gloves lined with Kevlar. I tell you what, it's been a long time since I've ridden one of these cross-plane R1s, and it's such a unique feel and unique sound to it. An amazing sound. Love that sound. But it's a very linear power band, and it also has a very unique vibration where it actually has a little more, personally, I think it has a little more vibration than the normal flat plane inline 4 does. It's got that little more of a rumble. Oh man, what a great bike. The first thing you notice when you hop on the R1s, and mainly most of the Yamaha Super Sports, is how wide the front end feels. Where most bikes are trying to bring it in tighter at that front end, Yamaha's like, no, let's make it huge. You really gotta watch your speed on these things, because these things, there's one thing, there's a couple things, but there's one main thing that super sport bikes, especially leader bikes, and especially the Yamaha R1 hate, and that it's like it's its biggest enemy, and that's going to be the speed limit, because it is very hard. You know, it's like driving a rocket ship at 5 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's just not made for it. It's just begging to go. It idles faster than this. And unlike having a a Harley Davidson with a big motor or a blower on it or something like that, I've got a turbocharged Road King. These things are these things are made for it. These things feel more comfortable. I'm not kidding. This bike feels more comfortable at triple digits than it does at the lower speeds. So it's very easy to just look down and be like, holy, I had no idea I was going that fast. Double, triple, quadruple, 5x the speed limit sometimes. Which is why these bikes were track bikes, they were race bikes that someone put turn signals and mirrors on just so they can sell bikes, so that Yamaha can keep on racing and so they can make money. But in all reality, there's no good reason why these things should be allowed on the streets, which is why you gotta have one. That's exactly why you gotta have one. Just get on it. Could jump on this bike. It's just the problem with it is, have you spent any time actually learning how to ride, more so than just learning how to control your power? You know, chances are, if you had a slower bike but you really dialed in your riding abilities, you'd become a better rider. You would actually be a worse rider if you started on a bike like this. But this is America, and we can do whatever we want. I'm going to tempt a 0 to 60. I will admit I was never full throttle at any point there. Guys, this R1 is an awesome bike, but it is for the more advanced motorcycle riders. Not that you can't get there within a year of riding whatever you got. But once you've been riding for a long time, you definitely need one of these things in your garage. That wraps it up. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, it's not what you're riding, but where are you going? See you guys next time.